So explosions are fun? Hello, my fellow Tarnished, and welcome today as I instruct you, my fellow sorcerers, in, I think, this very slept-on spell. It's definitely not one I've seen around the place, and I think that's a shame because it's actually kind of ridiculously powerful for two main reasons. The first, given just how many explosions per cast, resulting in upwards of a cap of like 10 to 15,000 damage if they all hit, and two, the fact that this is technically speaking both a sorcery, of course, but also a fire spell, allowing us to double dip on damage multiplication, which is an incredibly fun thing to say 3 times fast. Double dip on damage multiplication. You know it was going to happen, alright? You don't act surprised. So, what is actually this? Well, if you don't recognize it, it is the sorcery that you can get as one of the 2 options for the Remembrance of Rykard, the final boss of Volcano Manor. And it goes by the name of Rykards Rancor. And yes, you are compelled to say Rykard with a Rykard, you know? You gotta do him justice. Him and his beautiful voice.
Join myself and King as family.
It's like if nails on a chalkboard could speak. In any case, it's an expensive spell, both in terms of it being 2 memory slots, but also hefty on the FP consumption. Also needs 18 faith, which isn't the highest cost in the world, but does require a little bit of consideration, as you won't normally have 18 faith in a sorcery build. So the question, of course, is it worth it? Well, mechanically, what is this? It's a slow-traveling but incredibly high-tracking spell that every sort of 0.3 seconds or so of travel will leave behind a little glimmer in the trail. That glimmer, after a moment, will detonate. So if this is travelling its full length, and when it gets to its target it swirls round them back and forth to create more explosion pockets, we'll just create this detonating line of death that goes through and in and around everything you have set it upon. Now, obviously, against big enemies, big bosses, this is incredible, because it just punches a hole through them, and it just keeps going. The damage to cast ratio here is ludicrous. I mean, I did try it on, you know, an incredibly fire-resistant target in the Worm King, and naturally it didn't do a lot because, you know, he is made of magma, spits out the stuff, and this is a magma spell, so I don't really know what I expected, but anything not resistant to fire is obviously going to have a really bad time against this, and at least this battle looked spectacular, so that's cool, and to be fair, that is cool. This sorcery does look spectacular, and obviously in PvP you can roll through it fairly well and kind of weave around it, but the thing is, it's got such a long length, the trail that it creates, with such delay at different timings, it's so easy to forget that it's a thing and just get caught out by the explosion while you're focusing on the caster. If you fire a couple of these out and then switch to a backup weapon or option, the amount of blanket cover it gives you in field control is a lot of fun. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not about to be over here like, oh, this is it, this is the end times, this is apocalypse upon all who stand before you. This build, this spell in a nutshell is just...
Oh, I wouldn't go anywhere near him if I were you. He seems to have come down with a terrible case of explosions.
But is it incredibly potent and shouldn't be ignored in the right situation? Yes, certainly. And again, the reason for is because it can double dip on both sorcery boosters and fire boosters. So you can get the Mask-Raven Talisman for an extra 8%, but also the Fire Scorpion for an extra 12%. You could do the Magic Scorpion too for another 12%. Hell, put on the Graven as well, and then we're talking a nice plus 32% from 3 talismans. That's ridiculous. But it gets even more ridiculous when we think of the Wondrous Physic. You can put in the magic boosting tier, which is plus 20%, but also the fire boosting tier, which is plus 20%. So you get a nice plus 40% damage for a good few minutes after having drunk this. And then you compound that into Rykards Rancor, and we start to see some really impressive results. Oh, and there is a glintstone staff that you can farm as a drop from the, like, 1 Snake Man caster in Volcano Manor, that if you hold in your other hand and get the passive from, will give you another 15% damage on Rykards Rancor here, which is actually fantastic, and really, again, tips this over the top in the situations where it works. It's very, very cool. comfortable, and again, the feeling of just walking along as explosions rain hell all around you and anything that tries to get you is really satisfying. And because the damage is delayed, and because it leaves a trail of death wherever it travels, anywhere where there's a big group of enemies, if you target the one in the back, then automatically all the ones between you and that are going to get blown up, which lets you really use it in a quite a cool way tactically when the situation does allow. It's great for mass mob control, it's great for big bosses, and it's great for the style points, and I really, really like it. I will be looking into the other fire sorceries too, but they are all kind of a clump on their own, whereas Rykards Rancor is very much different, and I really wanted to experiment with it because for a boss remembrance, you want it to be good, and certainly I have found it to be that. So, yeah, just kind of wanted to throw this out there as a little PSA to maybe not ignore this sorcery. Combined with other sorceries and setups, this can put down some incredible explosive cover, do ridiculous damage to the investment in using it, and open you up to some fantastic build possibilities. So yes, my fellow tarnished of sorcerous intent, maybe give this one a little play with. For now though, like if you have enjoyed this, look out for very soon I've got a couple of sorcery focused videos that are going over what I think might actually be the single most powerful spell in the game, and a few neat little tips and tricks that'll make your sorcering just that much better, so you do want to stick around, hit the bell, subscribe for that. Otherwise, please consider supporting the future of this channel and its continued existence on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.